Had no need to fight tonight.
The 2021-2022 season previews continue today with the Detroit Red Wings. Very interesting team. Now, the Red Wings have been developing through this rebuild since, you could argue, 2017. But, it was really just became official in 2018-19. But, they really went up the ranks. They really developed the prospects. They really done the right things to make this team a contender. And I'm not saying that next season they will be a contender, but they're sure as hell getting there. We're going to talk about their key arrivals, their key departures, and their projected lineup as well, and ask the question, do they make the playoffs? But anyways, if you are to the channel and haven't already subscribed, or you are a Red Wings fan and you have not already subscribed, I really would appreciate it if you did so. We are only, I think, 27 subscribers away from 1,000. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So, I have this video planned today, and then another video later today, which I won't reveal. Maybe that's a special video. But anyways, I won't waste any more of your time. Let's get into that preview. So last season for the Detroit Red Wings was, for their team standard, it wasn't terrible. They went 19, 27, and 10 for 48 points, and they finished 27th overall in the NHL, and they missed the playoffs. So you look at that and you say, all right, so, they're a rebuilding team, and obviously they're going to have to miss the playoffs, because if they make the playoffs, they're going to be rebuilding forever. So technically, obviously they had to do that. And did anyone see it coming? Not really. So we're not going to spend too much time on that. But, they had a couple good stretches. They acquired Jake Verana at the trade deadline for Anthony Mantha and a couple of first-round picks, Richard Panik, all the good stuff. And obviously Verana's turned into a very solid player. They used those picks to select Sebastian Cossa, which I don't think they used the exact pick. I think they made a trade with Dallas to get Cossa, but you know what I mean. Anyways, let's get into their key departures. So when it retains to their key departures for the Detroit Red Wings, it actually is a pretty big list. And really, in all honesty, what Steve Yzerman wanted to do was he wanted to brand this team as its own. There was still some pieces of the old Ken Holland era for the Detroit Red Wings that he just had to get out. And there's really only, I think, one, maybe two players on this Red Wings team that were there back in the day, or at least that are bad contracts relatively. Larkin obviously played through the Holland era, but Anyways, they lost Luke Glendening. I forget where he went, but Luke Glendening, they obviously lost him, a very solid center. He obviously definitely will be missed with Detroit Red Wings. One of the very few guys they will miss. They also lost Jonathan Bernier, a goaltender who I thought was developed into a very underrated goalie, and I think, he's going to kind of get that plateau taken away from him when he goes over and plays for the New Jersey Devils, which is where he was at. But technically he got traded to Carolina, but, he didn't play a game, so I'm not going to say that. They also lost Bobby Ryan. Bobby Ryan still does not have a team yet. He has not been offered a contract by anyone. I haven't seen any PTO news. I could be wrong on that, but I have not seen anything regarding that. So, I would love to see Bobby Ryan back in the NHL, but it looks like right now it's not looking too good. So, as for the other guys, you saw Darren Helm leave. That was obviously another piece of the Ken Holland era they needed to get out of there. They also have Evgeny Svechnikov, who also went off to the Winnipeg Jets. I'm not sure if he's on a pro tryout or he's on a one-year deal. I'm not too entirely sure. I cannot remember because that was a little bit ago. They also lost Richard Panik in the trade with Nick Leddy. Panik was, I don't want to say a rental because they weren't going to make the playoffs anyways, but Panik was just the guy they got back for the Mantha trade. So they also lost Alex Biega, another big piece of the old Ken Holland era. And then they also lost Dennis Cholowski, a underrated, could be pretty much a very solid top four defenseman if it goes right for the Seattle Kraken, but they lost him to the Kraken, of course. Now, as for your key arrivals list for the Detroit Red Wings, there was really guys in here to really glue the team together. And this was really the guys that they needed to kind of not really glue the team together. They're not ready for a Stanley Cup run yet. I still think they'll finish towards the bottom of their division at least one more year. But I do think that these were players that they're going to have when they, obviously they make the playoffs. They acquired a depth forward and Mitchell Steffens, obviously not really going to play that big of a role with the Red Wings. You'll probably see him with the Grand Rapids Griffins if you're a Griffins fan. You also acquired P.S. Sutter, who will probably be playing top six. Very possible with the Detroit Red Wings lineup, but he could very well be playing bottom six if the young guys below rise up and play well. They also acquired Nicoletti in that Richard Panik trade. Obviously, that's one of the rare Steve Yzerman L's. The thing is with that, he had to get he had to take Kapanen, and I mean, it's take it what you will. Letty's not that bad. He'll play solid with Detroit, like Mark Stahl has. They also acquired Jordan Osterley through free agency with the Arizona Coyotes. Not a bad move. I thought Osterley was solid this season. His contract may be a little bit bad, but whatever. It expires in like 2 years. And then they also acquired, I think, is the biggest player this offseason. You can argue it's P.S. Sutter. You can argue what you want. Alex Nadalkovic, a Calder finalist. Yeah, I mean, we've discussed the Carolina Hurricanes trade on here before. I've discussed how stupid it is for Carolina to make that move. But, they had to move him out. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense if they want to win now. They have a completely different range on the goalies. But we're not here to talk about Carolina. The thing is with Nadalkovic, he can be very solid and very young. You can argue, like, oh, he was only good because of Carolina's blue line. They had Hamilton, Gardner, Pesce, Slavin, they had all those guys. But I still think that he's going to be very solid under this Detroit defense, which in a couple of years could be better than Carolina's was. Anyways, we move on into the projected lineup. I lost my words there for a second. In the top six, they have Jacob Vrana, Dylan Larkin, and Tyler Bertuzzi. Then you have P.S. Sutter, Robbie Fabry, and Philip Zadina. Now, the center core still leaves a little bit of a question, but when you look at the guys that are rising up for this roster, it won't be that big of a problem. Obviously, having Fabry on the second line is a bit concerning, but I still think that's going to be, relatively solid. As for Vrana, solid goal scorer. He should be playing very well this coming season. Bertuzzi as well, I think, has developed very, very well, and I think he could be useful in the coming years. Sutter, obviously, we'll see how he does with Detroit. That season with Chicago could have been just a one-hit wonder, like Jordan Binnington. Gotta diss my Blues fans. But anyways, and as for that, like Zadina as well. Zadina, another very solid young player there. And, he's not a prospect anymore, but, you add him to those young guys, that core's pretty good. As for the bottom six and the fill-ins, you have Michael Rasmussen, Sam Gagner, Vladislav Nemestikov. Then you have Lucas Raymond, Carter Rowney, and Jonathan Berggren. Then you have Smith, Veleno, Steffens, Hirose as your fill-in guys. So, obviously, Veleno probably could even play third-line center right out of the gate. He could even move up to the top six. It's very, very possible. The sky is the limit for Veleno, honestly, because it's really just Larkin, and the center core is kind of soft. So Veleno will definitely get a big impact there. Even Steffens might. Steffens might get a chance. Hirose may get a little bit too. But yeah, I like Rasmussen. Nemestikov's interesting. Berggren is a solid guy. Obviously, Raymond's there. And also I wanted to mention Giovanni Smith. Giovanni Smith does a lot for this Red Wings team. And, it's really good that they kept him around on that 2-year contract. And I'm excited to see how he's going to do. He doesn't play well offensively. He's really that grit, bottom six power play player, that type of guy. So I really like this offense. I think they have a lot of options. And I mean, having Jonathan Berggren make the roster right out of the camp maybe a little bit bold. But I look at that right wing core and I say, outside of the top six, that's kind of weak. So Berggren could very well play third line for all we know. As for the defense, you have first pairing Nick Leddy and Troy Stecher. Then you have Danny DeKaiser and Moritz Seider. Then you have Mark Stahl and Philip Hronek. Then you have Osterley, Lindstrom, and Sabrango. So I want to go over this here. First pairing Leddy and Stecher. Stecher, I think, is very solid. He doesn't get enough recognition. Detroit, he wasn't too good as he was in Vancouver, but who is really stellar in Detroit besides Bernier. But anyways, Leddy playing first pairing, you could argue move Stahl up to the first pairing. That could be very solid. You can make an argument of what you want, but I think that's not too bad there of Leddy first pairing. DeKaiser and Seider, that could get interesting. DeKaiser, you could very well move him down to the third pairing, put Stahl up there with Seider. That could work, honestly. Either way, it could work. I think Seider's going to be playing that top four role right out of the gate. He could very well make first pairing. I'm just saying. He was practically playing in the NHL over in the SHL, which, NHL and SHL, sure, are very different components, but I still think that, he was playing against men. So I think that's a very key factor you have to play in there. As for the third pairing, Stahl and Hronek, old. Veteran-like pairing. Filling guys, Osterley, Lindstrom, Sabrongo. Osterley, they get some chances this season. Sabrongo, that could be interesting. He could really be the X factor. He could really take out the Kaiser from that lineup. He could take Stahl out from that lineup, honestly. Because in the prospect game that I watched, I'm going to watch the one that's on Saturday. It's on recording this video. It's Friday. I'm going to watch the one that's on Saturday, see how he's going to do against the St. Louis Blues prospect team. But he looked very interesting, and I'm very excited to see what he's going to do with the Red Wings team this season. As for the goaltending should be without a question just this is just great. You have Alex Nadalkovic as a starting goalie. Yeah, Nadalkovic. Thomas Greiss is your backup goalie, and if I'm correct, Sebastian Cossa is playing this season for the Detroit Red Wings. I could be wrong. Don't at me, but I'm pretty sure he is playing. So that is a very solid tandem, Nadalkovic and Greiss. Greiss had a relatively down year, but I mean, does anyone really have good years in Detroit again? So I guess that makes sense. But Cossa, I think, is going to get some chances, definitely. Nadalkovic is going to have that chance to prove that, obviously last season wasn't really a one-hit wonder because, they had Hamilton, Pesce, we already mentioned that. And let's see if he can transfer that over to here when, the Red Wings defense and all that stuff is still developing. So I really like this team personally. The top six I'm a big fan of. The bottom six, if they bring in the young guys, I like it. If they don't, I'm kind of on the edge about it. The defense I like, and the goaltending I like. And, I've said this for the Rangers, and I think the Rangers are the only team that I've said this for. Nordic 97 does not have a problem with any of this roster. Now, as for my final question here, do the Detroit Red Wings make the 2021-2022 Stanley Cup playoffs? I'm going to say no. And I think, they will be more competitive than what they were last season. Absolutely. I don't think they'll finish last. Definitely not. Buffalo's there, so no way. Obviously, I think they're going to be relatively good, but I mean, they aren't going to make the playoffs. I can't see him finishing higher than 6th, and I can't see him finishing lower than 7th. So they're going to get, in that range. So I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but you're going to see a lot of young development because that's the point of this season. Develop some of the young guys coming in. Like you got Raymond coming in, you got Veleno coming in. We'll see how they develop, but, you never know what's going to happen. So let me know what you guys' thoughts are in the comments below about the Red Wings. I don't know what this glare is over here, but if you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. Tomorrow is the Dallas Stars, so I would like to thank y'all for that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.